Is she the victim of a briefing war?
Well, look, Andrea has had people briefing against her and talking her down over and over again. It's a big mistake.
Keir Starmer, the leader who promised to fix Britain, is now cornered. In a shocking interview,
they don't want that hotel at the end of the road. They're trying to live their lives. Their children, they're worried if their children are safe.
Well, look, I understand why people want the hotels closed. I want them closed, and I will work across the board to close them as quickly as possible. That is my aspiration. Every one of those hotels closed down as quickly as possible. Well, the way to do that is to work through the backlog.
But can you put a date on it?
Well, we've said we'll get rid of them all by the end of...
He made a jaw-dropping admission about Asylum hotels. He admitted, in his own words, that he wouldn't want his own daughter staying in one. The hypocrisy is staggering. They have the power to make real change, yet they keep dodging responsibility. The implications are huge, and what does this really mean for the future of UK immigration policy?
How would you feel if it was a hotel at the end of your road? If your daughter was having to walk past one of these hotels every day, how would that make you feel?
I completely get it. I mean, local people, by and large, do not want these hotels in their towns, in their place. And nor do I. I'm completely at one with them on that. I'm not in any way underestimating the strength of feeling that there is, because people strongly feel that these claims should be processed. People shouldn't be held at their expense.
If you want to see the outrageous things said in this interview, hit that like button and subscribe now, because what you're about to watch could completely change the way you see this issue.
Real sense of history, but also of privilege, to be able to come in and sit in the Prime Minister's chair in the Cabinet room. It's quite an incredible room.
Let's talk about some of the decisions then that you've made. It's just over a year ago since you made a speech outside in the garden where we were going to be until the heavens
Until the rain decided otherwise.
And you told voters then that things were going to get worse before they get better. They look at what's happened since then, whether it's with small boat crossings, strikes in the NHS, the state of the economy. They still feel like things are getting worse. We've had so many messages this afternoon of sort of expressing a frustration. People want to know when things are going to get better.
Yeah, I get that frustration, because after 14 years of the last government, people voted for change and they want change. The reason I said a year or so ago that it'll take time is because I wanted to level with the public that after 14 years worth of failure, public services, the economy, you name it, it was going to take time to turn it around. That is frustrating, because people want change as quickly as possible. I completely get that, and I want it as quickly as possible. I think here, a year on in, what I would say is we spent the first year sort of fixing the foundations, if you like, doing the hard yards. But we now enter into sort of phase 2 of the government, which is where we focus on delivery, and start to show what a difference a Labour government really makes. And so, yes, it was always going to take time. The urgency and the frustration, I completely understand. I want to go further and faster. And that's amongst the reasons I've done some changes here at Number 10 today to make Number 10 more powerful, to drive through the changes that we need.
I was going to ask you about that, because before the election we were told repeatedly that Labour was going to be the most ready incoming government in history. You've now reshuffled your team 3 times in a year. It starts to look a bit silly, doesn't it?
Well, I'd take you back a step. When I took over as leader of the Labour Party, I said there would be sort of 3 phases to this. You've got to sort of build the fundamentals first, and then you move on to the second stage. So this should be seen more as moving on to the second phase than a reshuffle, because some of the positions are actually new positions. The Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister
is it a reflection of
has
your
never been
frustration
there
that
before.
actually you haven't brought about the change that you promised?
Look, I do want to go further and faster, and yes, I'm frustrated about that.
Angry?
No, not angry. I'm frustrated. I get the frustration and anger of voters, because they want change. I mean, for a very long time, most people feel that their living standards haven't gone up, their public services aren't what they deserve, and they're not really getting back what they are putting in. So I want to deliver that change as quickly as possible. Today is about moving on to that second phase. As I say, delivery is the absolutely key word, and that's why I'm really pleased with the changes today, and actually bringing in a senior politician alongside me here in Number 10 to focus on that delivery should be seen as a sign of my determination.
Darren Jones, into here as your Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister. There's lots I want to ask you about, so let's move on to some of the specifics. You promised to smash the gangs. So far, the only thing you've smashed is the record for the number of people coming in small boats. How are you going to win back the trust of voters who at the moment think that Nigel Farage and Reform UK have been making all the running on this?
Yeah, let me first acknowledge it's a really serious issue. We have to have control of our borders, and I completely get it. And I'm determined that whether it's people crossing in the first place, whether it's people in asylum hotels, or whether it's returning people, we absolutely have to deal with this. When it comes to the asylum hotels, I want them emptied. I've been really clear about that. I completely understand why people are so concerned about it. The only way to empty them is an orderly, systematic working through of the cases as quickly as possible, and then returning those people who should not be here. I'm really pleased that in the first year of Labour government, we've returned 35,000 people who shouldn't be here. But again, I want to go further and faster, and let me be absolutely clear through you. I want to see every single asylum hotel closed. The way to do that is in an orderly way that actually gets the cases done. Not, and here's the big divide.
The trouble is, Prime Minister,
just hear me out, because you put to me, Nigel Farage. The difference here is between an orderly, sensible way of actually fixing a problem we inherited from the Tories, or fanciful arrangements that are just not going to work. I mean, Nigel Farage and Reform are just the politics of grievance. They feed on grievance. They don't want the problem solved because they've got no reason to exist if the problems are solved. And so the contrast in politics is a Labour government rebuilding, renewing the country in the way that we said we would, or this politics of grievance that simply puts forward unworkable, fanciful ideas that are actually not fair to the public to put forward yet again ideas that just aren't going to work.
But let me take you to one of these towns where there is an asylum hotel. How would you feel if it was a hotel at the end of your road? If your daughter was having to walk past one of these hotels every day, how would that make you feel?
I completely get it. I mean, local people, by and large, do not want these hotels in their towns, in their place. And nor do I. I'm completely at one with them on that. I'm not in any way underestimating the strength of feeling that there is, because people strongly feel that these claims should be processed. People shouldn't be held at their expense.
They don't want that hotel at the end of the road. They're trying to live their lives. Their children, they're worried if their children are safe.
Well, look, I understand why people want the hotels closed. I want them closed, and I will work across the board to close them as quickly as possible. That is my aspiration. Every one of those hotels closed down as quickly as possible. Well, the way to do that is to work through the backlog.
But can you put a date on it?
Well, we've said we'll get rid of them all by the end of the Parliament.
That's a long way. That's 4 years away.
I'd like to bring that forward. I think it's a good challenge. I want to bring that forward, and part of the change in the phasing of government is to say what we need to do needs to go further and faster and be brought forward. But do I understand why people are concerned about asylum hotels? Absolutely, I do. Do I share their feeling that they should be closed as soon as possible? Yes, I do. But we've got to have a sensible way of actually doing that, and not a fanciful proposition. And it's all very easy for Nigel Farage to put out fanciful propositions that aren't going to work. It's actually not fair to the public to keep pretending that these answers are there. And, these are people who just talk down our country. They want the problems to persist. Nigel Farage doesn't want these problems to go away, because once the problem's gone, he's got no grievance. He's got nothing for his politics to attach to.
Well, he would also say he does want this problem solved, and he said he's got plans for it. Let me move on to some other, because I'm conscious we've got a limited amount of time. Over the summer, one of the things we've seen an awful lot of is people putting up flags, St George's flags, Union Jacks. It sparked such a debate on 5 Live. Some people say it's patriotic, some people say it's racist. Which is it?
I'm a supporter of flags.
You are sitting with one, you've got a Union Jack behind you.
I've got one behind me. Are you
a supporter of people painting roundabouts and hanging them from lampposts?
Look, I'm the leader of the Labour Party who puts the Union Jack on our Labour Party membership cards. I always sit in front of a Union Jack. I've been doing it for years, and it attracted a lot of comment when I started doing it. And in our flat, which is upstairs from here, as you know, we've got the St George's flag in our flat.
So you're encouraging people to put up more flags?
I'm very encouraging of flags. I think they're patriotic, and I think they're a great symbol of our nation. I don't think they should be devalued and belittled. And I think sometimes when they're used purely for divisive purposes, it actually devalues the flag. I don't want to see that. I'm proud of our flag. I sit in front of our flag, and I'm very, very proud to do so.
Let me ask about some other topics. Making a big announcement today on childcare, £9 billion, big expansion of childcare support, 30 hours free childcare for those parents who are eligible. But there's a big problem, isn't there? People saying the big long waiting list. It's one thing you have in the pledge. Lots of parents saying it's hard to get the places.
Well, look, let's firstly say how important this is. This 30 hours of free childcare. That's from age 9 months through to reception year. This is fantastically important for parents and carers who can go and get on with whatever they want to get on with. For many of them, that may well be going back into work, improving their own economy and the national economy. For children, it's hugely important. A child that's been in childcare, by the time they get to reception year, is likely to be far ahead of children who haven't had that opportunity. And you hear these stories that are real about the disparity in 4-year-olds, some arriving in nappies, some quite articulate. That is a life-changing difference at the age of 4. This is going to help close that gap. True it is, we've got to make sure, as we are doing, we've got the right staff in the right place. I was really pleased, and I just double-checked this before coming on here, that 9 out of 10 parents have got the nursery of choice for their childcare. So the system is working. And this, I think, for all of your listeners who've got children, this is a real game changer in terms of what it does for the parent and the carer, but also what it does for the child. And I want to make sure every child can go as far as their talent takes them. That means starting at age 4 with the best possible chance, and this gives them that chance. I'm really proud of what we're announcing today. I think this is the difference that a Labour government makes.
Let me ask you about, you've talked about you changing your team. One person you haven't changed is Angela Rayner, your deputy and housing secretary. Lots of stories about her, questions over her housing and her tax arrangements. Some close to her saying, look, this is sexist, classist, misogynistic. Is she the victim of a briefing war, or has she got questions to answer?
Look, Angela is Deputy Prime Minister of this country. That's an incredible achievement. And Angela came from very humble background, battled all sorts of challenges along the way, and there she is proudly, and I'm proud of her, as our Deputy Prime Minister. And one of the things that drives me in politics is aspiration, is opportunity for people to go as far as their talent will take them. I'm really pleased that Angela's
Is she the victim of a briefing war?
Well, look, Angela's had people briefing against her and talking her down over and over again. It's a big mistake, by the way. Angela's an incredible Prime Minister, an incredible person.
Deputy Prime Minister, you just said Prime Minister.
A Deputy Prime Minister. But and what a great story of British success, that we are a country where Angela Rayner can be our Deputy Prime Minister. I'm proud of that. I think we should be proud as a country that Angela Rayner is our Deputy Prime Minister. And that, by the way, will give, I don't know how many working class children, particularly girls, a real sense of aspiration. They will look at Angela and think, and I can do something like that. What a brilliant thing. Before
I let you go, it's your birthday tomorrow. We always seem to speak around your birthday. What does Keir Starmer want for his birthday?
Well, mainly for people not to really acknowledge it, because it comes to a stage where you don't want to. But our daughter is 14. She's going around the flat saying, "Are you excited? It's the eve of your birthday." She's already celebrating. I'm trying to play it low-key, but I don't think our kids will let us get away with that.
Without being rude, come the next election,
That's why we need you. Hit like on this video now, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Share it with at least one friend, because if it's left to the establishment, this story will vanish. And drop a comment below.